So is it an upgrade or is it a sideways move? Welcome, Blue Believers, to another episode of the Stamford Sync, where we are syncing up with everything Chelsea FC. And today, I'm very happy to bring back my series that I've done a couple of times. I've teased it even more. It is Who's the Better Baller, where we take two players, we look at their stats from the last season, and try to figure out, amongst all of the eye tests and the statistics and all this, that, and the other, who is actually the better baller. So I put out a YouTube poll like a couple of weeks ago about who you wanted to see in this episode. I asked, you guys answered, and just winning by a couple of votes was Alejandro Garnacho versus Noni Madueke. Alejandro Garnacho, who we bought for a reasonable price off of a not-so-fierce rival that has the fanbase divided, up against Noni Madueke, a player we'd had for a couple of years that we got a really good price for and sold to a pretty fierce rival who also has the fanbase divided. But guys, before we get into the game, if you are enjoying the content and would like to see more, please do me the distinct honour of liking and sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, or just roast me in the comments, whatever gets you through your day. Right, so Alejandro Garnacho versus Noni Madueke. Now, this is a reasonable comparison to make because the main difference is which side they play on, right? Ultimately, they are both attacking byline wingers who have very similar skill sets. One of the reasons that Garnacho seemed like a good idea is because statistically and from the eye test, he looks like the kind of archetypal byline hugging winger that Enzo Maresca loves. But that did beg the question, why did we sell Noni Madueke if he was also that type of player, right? So today we're going to get it down into the brass tacks. I have used Squawka to find 10 statistics relevant to their positions from their last season's Premier League campaign specifically. I would like to have done their whole campaigns because they both had European games and lots of cup games and stuff, but Squawka only lets you look at one at a time, and I'm not in this enough yet to be able to take the averages and figure them all out and stuff. I'm keeping it simple, but 38 games is still enough to go on, I think. So the rules are simple. We go through each of the 10 statistics, and whoever gets the better score in that statistic gets a point. There are 10 points available to each player. In the event of a draw, I'll just give them a point each. And at the end, we will have a definitive number. Nah, not a definitive number. It's just a bit of fun, but we will have some idea of who is the better baller, or at least who was the better baller. Garnacho's only just started featuring for Chelsea, and Madueke has played a few times and is looking pretty good for Arsenal. So just from the eye test at the moment, you're probably going to say Madueke, but let's see what the stats have to say. But before I get into the stats, you know me, if you've seen any of these videos before, I like to start with the heat maps. The heat maps don't go to show you how good a player is, it just definitely kind of reinforces where they play positionally and how versatile they are. So here are the heat maps for Alejandro Garnacho and Noni Madueke from last season for Man United and Chelsea respectively. And you can see already very, very, very similar. They were used largely in the very same way, byline wingers. You would argue that Garnacho's red is a little bit more spread out, like a bit wider than Noni Madueke's is. It looks like Garnacho was hugging the byline a little bit less than Noni Madueke and was trying to get into those boxy attacking positions more often. And even just by looking at the yellow, it looks like Alejandro Garnacho was generally floating around the pitch a little bit more than Noni Madueke was. Now, this has probably not got anything to do with the players' stylistic choices. This is probably the kind of thing that you can pin on the manager. We all know from Maresca, for instance, that Maresca really likes his wingers to hug that byline, and you can see that in Noni Madueke's heat map there. But either way, what we're looking at here is two players that are similar enough for us to be able to compare. So now that's out of the way, let's get on to the game. So I'm going to start with the same stat that I always start with, and it is games played, right? So Alejandro Garnacho played 36 games in the Premier League last season, which at 38, fairly impressive. Noni Madueke comes in at 32 games, which is just behind him. But although I'm not going to put this in the actual game itself, I did look a little bit further into this, and Garnacho was subbed on a lot more time, and Noni Madueke actually made more starts. So although a balanced one there, ultimately Garnacho played more games, so the first point goes to Garnacho. The second stat I'm going to look at is we're going to get straight into the attacking stuff, and I'm going to look at shots on target, right? This is across all of the games that they played, bearing in mind that Alejandro Garnacho played a few more. Alejandro Garnacho managed 30 shots on target last season, while Madueke managed 32. So for the second round, Madueke takes the point. Next up, we're going to look at their shot accuracy percentage. Now, this is an interesting one. Very, very, very close. Alejandro Garnacho managed a 54% shot accuracy statistic, whereas Madueke takes the point again with 56. 6. Very, very marginal, but ultimately Madueke takes the point in this round as well. Okay, next up, we're going to look at the conversion rate, right? Like how many of those shots on target are going in. So Alejandro Garnacho comes in at 10.91% conversion rate against Noni Madueke's 12.28. So Noni Madueke takes it again. Garnacho is going to have to start pulling his finger out here because otherwise it's looking like it might be a bit of a sweep for Mr. Madueke. Okay, we get into the chunky one, and that is goals. And again, it's so close, man. Alejandro Garnacho got 6 goals in the Premier League last season, whereas Noni Madueke got 7, 1 more goal, and in a few less games as well. So Noni Madueke takes the point for goals. But what about creative stuff, right? Well, I hear ya. Let's get into it. So looking at assists, Alejandro Garnacho only managed 2 assists last season, which isn't a huge amount. And Noni Madueke didn't get a huge amount either, but with 3 assists, he manages to take this round as well. And Noni Madueke is storming this game of who's the better baller right now. Okay, so what about chances created? Because maybe they're not scoring or assisting a lot themselves, but with all the attacking power we've got in our team, maybe Garnacho can take this one. Garnacho created 37 chances in the Premier League last season to Noni Madueke's 31. So finally another point for Garnacho. But at this point, it's not looking like he can really pull it back. But we keep moving. Now, passing accuracy is the next one. And this is a whisper, man, an absolute whisper of a difference. Alejandro Garnacho managed 83.33% passing accuracy to Noni Madueke's 83.64. So it's not even like a whole percent difference, but at the end of the day, Madueke's percentage is better, so he takes the next point as well. Okay, but what about touches in the opposition box? Maybe Garnacho can pull it back on this one? Garnacho managed 186 touches in the opposition box last season to Madueke's 199, and again, he managed that in less games, do you know what I mean? And less minutes, I think, overall. So, again, Noni Madueke takes the point, and ultimately, he's run away with the game, but let's see what happens just for fun with the last stat. What about their defensive work? Right now, I've only put one defensive stat in here because they are both attacking wingers and we've focused mostly on the attacking kind of metrics, but I've taken a little look at ball recoveries. Alejandro Garnacho managed 108 ball recoveries last season to Noni Madueke's 84. So it's a consolation point to say the least, but Alejandro Garnacho does take the point for this one. And so that is it, guys. It is plain to see, just based on their performances last season, Noni Madueke is in fact the better baller with 7 metrics over Alejandro Garnacho's 3. So another thing I like to do, and especially when it's Chelsea players that we've just bought in these games, is a little bit of copium, but ultimately let's look at some of the caveats, right? Now, truth be told, there aren't a huge amount for these two in particular, but what there is obviously Garnacho had a bit more of a torrid time last season. He did play a lot. It was 49 games overall in all competitions, do you know what I mean? So he did play a lot, but ultimately when Ruben Amorim came in, it was very clear that Garnacho's favoured position didn't really exist anymore. So what I haven't done, and would be interesting to do actually, I'll have to see if I can do this at some point in the future, but look into what the difference was between Garnacho's stats in the first half of the season under Ten Hag and the second half of the season under Ruben Amorim. Because it may well have been a case that had Ten Hag stayed around, although that was never going to happen because he was doing really badly and they needed to make a change, maybe Garnacho might have performed a little bit better. At the end of the day, Maresca is definitely going to appreciate Garnacho's innate traits and ability and the type of winger that he is a lot more than Ruben Amorim did, right? So we can hope that Garnacho is going to perform better than he did last season at Man United. And when you're looking at these stats from a Chelsea perspective and looking at Noni Madueke and being like, why did we sell Noni Madueke and bring in Garnacho? The answer is money, isn't it, man? Well, the answer is 2 things. It's money and Esteval Willian, because look, man, I think that Esteval Willian, you know what? I'm going to say it. I'm absolutely going to say it. Why not back myself, right? I think Esteval Willian will have a better season this season than Noni Madueke did. I know it's taken him a little while to warm up to it, but the signs are there. He hasn't had a huge amount of minutes yet, and I think that Esteval Willian is going to seriously outpace Noni Madueke's last season at Chelsea. And we all know about the money thing, right? Yes, there was only, 12 million difference kind of thing between the price of Garnacho and Noni Madueke, but at the end of the day, the Madueke money goes on the books right now, and Garnacho's money gets split over the 5 years for amortization. Blah, 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 blah. We all need degrees in finance to be Chelsea fans these days. But that is it, guys. That is the end of today's episode of Who's the Better Baller. And unfortunately, Chelsea fans, Noni Madueke did perform better than Alejandro Garnacho last season. But that is not necessarily indicative of what's going to happen this season. The truth of the fact is, when Bukayo Saka comes back at Arsenal and is fit and firing and ready again, Noni Madueke's place is going to be under threat. And then he's going to have to fight for a left wing position against Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli and Eberiche Eze. So even though Noni Madueke looks like he might be doing quite well now, when Saka is back fit and firing, I do expect that to change, truth be told. So it's not all doom and gloom, right? At the end of the day, Garnacho's got good competition in Jamie Gittins, and the other caveat is the age, right? Garnacho is 2 years younger than Noni Madueke. So even just looking at that, a 23-year-old Noni Madueke against a 21-year-old Garnacho, and their stats are similar. At the end of the day, Madueke edged out a lot of the points in this game, but it was very close for a lot of them. So you would hope that if Garnacho can carry on the development trajectory he's currently on, because I've mentioned this in a few videos when I've talked about Garnacho already, the one thing that's been incredible about Garnacho is during his time with Man United, his goal and assist output has increased every single season, despite Man United's position falling and them getting worse. So he's managed to get even better as a player, regardless of the fact that his team was categorically getting worse. We can only hope that in a team full of attacking talent, with a manager that is definitely going to appreciate his role, his style, and the type of player that he is, maybe he can go on to do even better. I have to back him because as of right now, he's a boy in blue. So guys, I'm going to wrap the video up there, but I really hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any other ideas for players you'd like to see me compare, get them in the comments. I'd love to know who you want to see. I will also maybe sometime next week put out another post with a few more suggestions. Caicedo versus Gravenberch only just came second, so it'd be really interesting to do that one, and maybe I'll do that one anyway, but let me know what you want to see in the comments. If there's at least one Chelsea player, because this is a Chelsea channel, and someone else, whether it be Premier League, Champions League, whoever, maybe there's a player from Benfica, because we've got them coming up in the Champions League. Let me know what you think, and I will make it. Right, nice one, guys. I hope you all have an absolutely wicked day, and I'll catch up with you very, very soon. Take it easy. Peace.